Good evening and welcome to Undoing I Do with Stephanie and a Day. I'm Stephanie Hunnell, the owner of the Hunnell Law Group in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and your co-host for this evening.
And I am Adela LaShara Lindau, the owner of the law offices of Adela LaShara Lindau in Staten Island, New York. How are you, Stephanie? We haven't been on in a minute.
No, it feels like forever. I've missed you.
Missed you too. But I
How
hope
you
that
doing?
you had a great week last week. I have been busy, appeals, jumping divorces. It has been a time.
As you know, I took last week off to do a little staycation, and so I've been catching up this week because there was a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah, you need a staycation from your staycation at this point. Anytime you go on vacation, I'm going on vacation next week, and I am going to be in that same situation when I get back. So,
Yep, every time it happens.
but we all need the rest, and
We do need the
it
rest.
gave me some time to catch up on the drama that we are going to talk about today. Because listen, people, one of my guilty pleasures is watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of the OC, Real Housewives of New Jersey, and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is where my girl, Erika Girardi, is showcased. And damn, there's too much drama. So I came to Stephanie with this proposal because I was floored by the possibility that these people are living a whole sham.
Yeah, so I know nothing about any of them. I think I watched The Real Housewives of New Jersey when it first came out, whenever that was, probably a decade ago at this point. And then I just like fell off and I didn't watch any of it. So I haven't watched really any of these. So I had to go and do some Google searching. I was supposed to do my homework because I was off and like binge watch the Netflix series, which I did not do. So we'll see. I'll be
So
a hanger on today.
I watched that Netflix series like twice because it was just so crazy. And there's an old Real Housewife of New Jersey, Danielle Straub, is on there like completely as New Jersey and say ratting out Erika. I think New Yorkers say that too, though. But anyway, um, talking about Erika and whether she was fake and phony. And I mean, again, Erika is a friend in my head. I have always thought that she was the most classy housewife. But now I'm wondering, did she file her divorce under false pretenses? What's going on? So the whole gist of the situation is that Erika used to be a waitress. Prior to that, I think she was a exotic dancer, or she just worked at the exotic dance place next to Bada Bing. I don't know which one it was, but because I wasn't there. But she fast forwards after she gets divorced the first time, meets Tom Girardi, who is a big time lawyer. I never even knew that he was the Aaron Brockovich lawyer. I had no idea.
Neither.
I had no idea. So, like, that's badass lawyer, badassery lawyering, right? And he's making hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements, marries Erika. I think he's like 33 years older than her. So, she's all young and everything with her little kid. And he basically helps her raise this little boy who's now a cop. Fast forward, they file for divorce. Okay, so we're like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe it was just, a mismatch type of thing. He's way older than her, in his 80s, I guess.
But so here's the thing about that. They've also been married for like 20 years.
22
So,
years.
yeah. So, I mean, that can't be, all bad. You married somebody, let's say she married somebody for money. We're talking about her being a waitress, maybe a stripper, maybe not. Him being 33 years older than her. But it's been 20 years. So there's something going on there. It's, whatever the arrangement they have, they've had a pretty solid relationship.
So the whole thing is,
Maybe not solid.
right, they've had a significantly long relationship, and a whole lot of money has changed hands, come into his pockets, gone into her career, right? Because none of these Real Housewives are housewives, by the way. Like I have not seen an actual housewife yet. I don't even understand the premise because I have not seen somebody who doesn't have a job or a business or some side gig yet. But okay, let's just call her a housewife. So the question now, Tom is under all kinds of investigations for stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from people who he represented. And of course he does, like, you know, these catastrophic cases and this personal injury stuff. And so he's getting money settling cases left and right, right? And so these people are alleging that Tom has, in some cases, never given them any money from their settlements. Right? There's one woman on the Netflix show who says that she got maybe like $150,000 and never saw a dime of it. Then there's one young man who alludes to getting millions of dollars. And he's like, yeah, sometimes I would get my check, sometimes I wouldn't get my check. Tom convinced my family to invest in this stock or investment account or something, and we were supposed to get all this money, and now I don't get anything. And I'm like, what the world?
So yeah, so I didn't get it, obviously, because I didn't watch the series yet, and I am going to watch it. But you can't encourage a client to invest in something like that. Like that right there, whether or not he was, you know, having some kind of a fake payout to his client and, you know, keeping the money and then giving him a little bit in dribs and drabs. But you can't encourage a client to invest, like give them kind of like stock advice, that type of stuff. But there's an ethical issue with that.
Big ethical issue. So, and we're not New Jersey lawyers, so, or no, we're not California lawyers. So we don't know what the ethical codes are there per se, but I'm pretty sure they're kind of similar to the state, to all of our state codes and the uniform federal code for ethics. And I'm pretty sure that giving investment advice, unless you're a CPA or a licensed investor, you know, somebody who does investments as a part of their profession, a broker or something like that. Right. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be giving that kind of advice. And even if you are, you're probably not supposed to be giving your client that type of advice if they haven't retained you for that.
Right. If they're coming to you and saying, okay, I got this $1 million settlement, how should I invest this money? And oh, by the way, I happen to be, you know, this planner, so I'm going to give you this advice. It's completely different from what it sounds like you're saying happened.
Right. And the thing about it is that it's not like he was saying, oh, I'll take this money and I'll put it into something that I invest in. Okay, so what is that? And then people weren't getting statements. And so the question is, did Erika know about this? We don't know, again, people, so please don't sue us. We are just speculating. This is our opinion. We have no idea as to what the real facts are. But
so let me ask you this. I don't mean to cut you off, but on that point about one, investing in something he would invest in, and two, whether or not Erika knew about it, I was reading something from like page 6 that said he gave her $20 million to invest in his company.
Like to invest in her company.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, Erika is a singer. It's expensive to be made. Like, that's one of her songs. Anyway, so allegedly he gives her this money and he like funds her tours and funds her music videos and things like that. And, you know, obviously it's expensive to be Erika. So she has like a $50,000 a month glam squad and they go everywhere with her on the show. Like, these people, she's literally just going to, let's say, Japan. I think they went to Japan one time on the show. And her whole glam squad is on the private jet with her going to Japan. There's boxes upon boxes, all kinds of wigs and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, how do people afford this? $40,000 a month? And that doesn't even include your clothing?
Wow. That kind of explains why they're in bankruptcy as well.
And so this is the thing. So he files for bankruptcy, which of course is going to force her to do something, right? And usually your spouse is then also somehow pushed into bankruptcy, aside from the fact that apparently she has no money on her own now, allegedly.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because
he's
he was
also allegedly broke because
allegedly.
I think there was some deposition that he was supposed to have. He had some doctor from Long Beach, California, which is actually where I went to college, Long Beach State.
Shout out to Long Beach.
And write him some kind of an affidavit saying that he is not of sound mind and can't attend these depositions because he has dementia now or some form of dementia. And also, he is broke, he claims. These are just what I've been reading.
Mm-hmm. So I just wonder, like, what is it like to be broke like him? Because I'm pretty sure that his broke and our broke are two different realities. Like, because if he's still living in any of these bomb ass houses, I want to be broke like that too. Okay.
Speaking of broke like that, Erika is moved out of the $13 million mansion and is living in a $1.4 million home.
Which, so I think she was saying that she rents the house, but still, how much is rent for that place? And it seemed pretty nice to me. I know it's not 14,000 square feet or anything, but it really seemed like a nice home, and I wouldn't be mad living there. So, especially since Erika is like seen on Housewives. I think it was last week's episode. See, I'm telling you, I'm a real fan. And she's going through like trying to decorate, and she's like, every single room that's not her bedroom is going to be a closet or a dressing room. I have kids that I got to put into the other rooms in my house. I better put my clothes into my daggone closet, people. She got to do a whole room into a closet.
So rather than move into like a 1-bedroom condo or something, which is, when a lot of people that are getting divorced, they have to do that.
Or their grandma basement.
But there's her downsizing. She has to have however many rooms for closet space and studio space.
So apparently their bankruptcy attorneys are the ones her bankruptcy attorneys are the ones who fired her as a client. And so, what has to happen for us to fire clients?
I can't comment. I was trying to comment. I'm going to send you a private chat. Maybe you could copy and paste it. This is what her bankruptcy attorneys gave as the reason for discharging her as a client. And I said a day right before we got on, this all is code for she's a liar. Her attorney saw
allegedly. Again, we gonna keep saying allegedly. We ain't getting sued.
This is my personal opinion about after reading this statement from her attorneys. In my mind, translate that into she's a liar. So, after watching the series, the Netflix special, her attorneys then decided that they're issuing the statement and relieving themselves from representing her any further.
So let's just be frank, people. When your attorney, I have only filed to be relieved on maybe, I could count it on one hand probably. I don't even think it's 5 cases. In the 15, 16 years that I've been practicing law, I don't remember filing to be relieved as counsel or removed as counsel on more than a handful of cases. So it has to be pretty bad for you to be relieving yourself as counsel. And generally, people relieve themselves as counsel or file to be relieved because somebody didn't pay them. This sounds like a whole nother story here. And of course, since they are her lawyers, they really can't betray her confidence in a way that puts her stuff out there because then they'll be sued. So,
right.
Yeah. We can only assume.
Like this.
Yeah, we can only assume that there was some lie stuff going on. As Nigerians like to say, lie. Yeah, they can only assume something didn't seem right to them. And I will always withdraw as counsel if something doesn't seem right. I remember that there was one case that I can think of in my entire career where I withdrew as counsel because I just thought that the person's whole situation was fugazi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think of one. I haven't had one that was so egregious. I mean, I'm like you. I think I've applied to be relieved as counsel on a handful of cases. A couple other cases, we as clients we decided to part ways, and we had a conversation about it, and it was an understanding, and they found different counsel.
Mhm.
But never for like huge egregious lies like that. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't mean like that because I don't know what the lies are. I have no idea. But I'm saying
right,
lies that would be such a immediate withdrawal. Because a lot of
right.
times there are certain things that clients have not been honest with me about that I'm able to work around, gather the information, have like a good talk with them, and say, going forward, we absolutely have to have this level of trust and candor. And then for the most part, it's been smooth sailing afterwards.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Your lawyer isn't allowed to just start running around talking about everything that you did in the past. There are very, very circumscribed, limited circumstances under which a lawyer can break your confidence. Very limited. Okay. So, usually, if you've done something in the past, even if it was yesterday, the lawyer is not running around saying, "Oh, my client just robbed a bank." I mean, we all know people who have done something nefarious, broken the law, or something like that, who need representation, and you continue to represent them knowing what the circumstances are. When you know what the circumstances are, you can better represent your client. But when you don't know what the circumstances are and your client is for purposefully failing to tell you, that's when we have a breakdown in client communication, and you're going to have to get a new lawyer.
Yep. I think a prime example of that would be, in the event, hypothetically, a client came in and was giving you their financial statements, and you helped prepare their financial documents. You went over them, you saw whatever proofs they provided, you had your client sign them under oath. You submit these to the court as a representation to the court of what the financial circumstances are. And then you later find out that the circumstances were not as they were outlined, and that your client was aware of some of these things. And that, I think that there would be absolutely disqualifying,
Yeah.
for me to continue to represent somebody.
Yeah. And see, in New York, we actually have to sign our client statements of net worth. So, yeah, we have to certify our client statement of net worths. And so if you are, isn't that dangerous? I don't even know why that's a thing, because
I don't
we
know
can only.
how can that be a thing when you could only certify to what paperwork your client gives you? You don't know if your client's not giving you everything. That's crazy.
Or
That's
if they
crazy.
forged the stuff that they gave you, or if their spouse forged the stuff that they got. I mean, you don't know. Attorneys put their little Jane and John Hancocks on these documents in New York every single day. And so you'll have a situation where an attorney will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, judge, I can't certify it. Can't certify it because," and it's actually in my retainers, that you need to tell me the truth because I'm putting my bootay on the line every time I sign something in your case. And just about every single document that attorneys file, from the complaint to the statement of net worth, everything has to be signed and certified by an attorney. And people don't realize that they're putting their attorneys in a bad situation when they do this. But here's the thing. What the hell's going to go down if Erika really did know about the fraud? Because this is millions upon millions of dollars. And so the allegation is that she actually filed and it's a sham filing.
Mhm.
So now I've seen the interaction between them. I mean, it's on TV. I don't know them. So I've seen the interaction between them, and I could kind of sort of see where maybe it could have been real, that, they just have a disconnect. Because I think that, Tom's treatment of her sometimes was really very off-putting, like very demeaning sometimes. But then on the other hand, this dude is financing all of your dreams to millions upon millions upon millions of dollars.
So the stuff that I was reading, and I obviously don't watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, was that they were always happy. They presented themselves as happy. They went to like a Tahoe trip, I guess, in the last year or so, 6 months or so, and they seemed to be perfectly happy and content. But on the other hand, nobody knows what goes on privately in a relationship. If they know video cameras are all over the place, they're going to they might be on their better behavior depending on what they want to present as their brand. In the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, whatever their brand is. So you don't know. I saw something, a quote from her that she was saying Tom has always been very difficult. It's always his way. And, as long as I'm okay with it being his way, we get along just fine. Everything's perfect. Everything's amazing. And, she has nothing to complain about. This is like kind of coming from him, is what she's saying. So I could get that when you're financially controlled by
Mhm.
someone in such a way. I mean, and the flip side really is he's giving you $20 million to finance your music career or Broadway career or whatever she's doing. So it's kind of hard to feel sorry for somebody like that and call them financially, controlled. But
That's
that's the
true.
lifestyle that he's accompanied to in the last 20 years. So you take that away.
And so I saw a part of a deposition that Tom
Oh,
did. It's in the documentary. So I saw it and I'm like, Tom doesn't really look like Tom. Like Tom actually looks like a little old man. Now he always looked older, but like his face was gaunt. He was like a little bit off kilter, like not really slurring his words, but you couldn't fully understand him. So I'm like, if this dude is on an act right now, he needs to win all the awards. Oscar, Tony, like he needs to win all of the awards because he really did seem like he wasn't quite right. And he said, "Oh, I used to have 80 million." Then he said, "Oh no, 50 million in this one account. Then I had 50 million in cash. That's all gone. And then I had 50 million over here in investment. That's all gone." I'm like, "Really, Tom? 50 million times 2, Tom? That's a lot of money." Like, I can't
wait.
even imagine.
What just happened with the cash? I want to know where that 50
Where
million
did
cash
the
goes.
cash
Like, how do you
go?
just,
Because
here's
I
some more
was
cash
he
here.
just woo, like, because I mean, where was I?
I'll just take
Listen,
one. Can I just have one of those, please?
I'm not even gonna be greedy. Like, listen.
That is just, I mean, it's insane to me to think about spending in such a way that you are so confident that money's going to come back in again that you would just spend money that way.
So now, if this money is like real, if this was really his money, and this is how much he was spending, right? Erika is certainly going to be asking for alimony, right? So the question is what is her likelihood of getting alimony? Now, here's the thing. If it comes out that this money is really ill-gotten, okay, she's not going to get any alimony. That's not going to be something that occurs. Now he can't work because I believe he's been disbarred. If I'm wrong, somebody shout me out in the comments and say I'm wrong. Again, please don't sue me. But either way, if either he's suspended or disbarred, he cannot make any money. And so the only way that he would be attributed income, most likely, and we don't practice in California, but most likely is to be imputed income based upon whatever, assets or, stock accounts or whatever it is that he has. But the thing about it, that is, if the money is ill-gotten, does Erika really have a claim to ask for alimony on blood money? Because this money comes from people having injuries and things.
Yeah,
This is blood money.
right. One of those was from the flight that was downed in 2018. That they
Yes.
supposedly
The
funneling
Ethiopian,
money.
I think it was the Ethiopian flight. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I mean this
And these
so
are real people with real injuries, real life that they were taking money from. And if that is the case, and she was aware of it, I don't know how the court can get around making sure that these people are made whole.
and where's the money? How are they going to be made whole? Where did the money go? To her hair and the plane? Like, I think they have 2 private jets. Okay, you're only going to get so much money for those. It's going to be good money, but it ain't going to make all of these people whole. So Now, are we going to be talking about jail time? Because, see, if Erika did know, this is a monumental fraud.
Let
And
me ask.
you're about to go to prison.
Yes, and I want to ask you a question. You said she spends $40,000. Was it a day, a
A
month?
month, approximately.
So we're talking $500,000.
Yes, we're talking $480,000 a year. There are small businesses that do not make that kind of money in an entire year. So, woo.
So during their 20-year marriage, that's $10 million right there.
So I don't think that she was spending all that money back then, because if you look at the pictures of her, and this is the thing, I'm like, Erika, what happened? If you look at the pictures of her, she was cute and pretty and everything, and then now you're like, okay, Erika, I could see the difference. Still cute and pretty, but you could definitely see the difference. So that, she spent money on Botox probably, and I don't know. She said she had a nose job. I don't know what else, that she spent money on. But I'm thinking that if she knew about all of this stuff, she would have had to come up with this. I'm gonna divorce him because now look at what happened. He's been stealing all this money. She has to try to distance herself from him. But is that gonna work? Look at Teresa Giudice and Joe. Like, they both went down.
I did watch that. I tracked that. They both went to jail.
Yep.
But that was a tax evasion issue. So
Yep.
this is a fraud issue. The people are going to have civil suits against them. I don't know if there's going to be any criminal action.
I would think so, because wouldn't it be larceny? Like, it would have to certainly be grand larceny if this guy never turned over all these people's money and he just converted it, right? So there's a concept in the law called conversion, where you take something that's not yours and take it like it's yours and use it, That's a crime.
That is a crime. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I'm not trying to go to prison for people.
I'm just not. With her level of spending also. Can there be an argument? Is there an argument to be made based on her spending habits, based on what their lifestyle might have been before, that she was aware that there's more money coming in than should have been, and she should have known that there was something nefarious going on?
So this is the thing. So I'm thinking about this, right? Let's think about this as wives, right? We don't know what our husbands do with every single dollar that they get. We don't. Well, I mean, your case might be a little bit different because your husband works in your firm. So you do know. But for people who don't work together, you might not know what kind of money they have coming in, where the money's coming from. All you know is that your man is mad successful and he is whining you and dining you. You might not ask him, babe, where'd you get this money from? Because your husband is a well-known, a world-renowned lawyer. So you're figuring, okay, all of this money is legit. Maybe you're not thinking that he's running a whole Ponzi scheme.
You're also, I mean, in her defense as well, it sounds to me like he was the one that handled the purse strings. He was financially controlling. So it could be as if she had no idea of the finances, like none at all. So not only does she not know that there's more money coming into the house, she probably had no idea from the beginning what their lifestyle was based on. She just knew that she wanted something and she got it.
Yep. She wanted something. She got it. And, he knew that, he probably also knew that to a degree, in order to keep her, he had to provide this stuff. So there's a lot of men who go down like this. And actually a lot of lawyers, when you think about it. I mean, we could all think of lawyers. I can think about a couple right now who have gone to the federal penitentiary, done state time for stealing people's money. I don't know anybody who's stolen this kind of money.
Right.
But I know of people who have stolen $500,000, $1 million, purchased houses, like their wives didn't work. And so, all of the financial burden was on them, and they start skimming and skimming and skimming. Listen, one thing I could say as a lawyer, the worst thing that anybody can do is take money, borrowing money from clients. This is a no-no, as my old Spanish teacher used to say.
that is the number one way. So we have, as attorneys, we have, our regular business accounts, and then we have trust accounts that our client money is supposed to go into. That is 100% client money. It's being held for whatever reason. Either it's to pay future legal fees. It's used to, it's supposed to be deposits for down payments. Money comes in for any number of reasons. You're just holding it for a future settlement or a payout. Whatever the reason is, that money is client money. Not one
Yep.
penny of that money can be diverted to your fund. There's even problems where sometimes a bank wants to take out a fee. We have to use specific banks that know they're not allowed to take out a fee. They can't do a transaction fee, a wire fee. There's no fees that can be taken out of that unless the attorney deposits their own personal money in there
Right.
to cover those fees. You cannot.
Right. I was just getting ready to say, sometimes we have to use our own money to help facilitate the client do things. Like, I remember I had to transfer money for a client. I had to pay my own money to transfer $30,000 to a client's bank to have their mortgage paid off. I had to pay my own money for that. So, because if I had even put the $100 or whatever it was into my trust account, or my IOLA account, as we call it in New York, IOLTA in New Jersey, I would have been in a situation where I was commingling money, and that would have not been permissible. So, and that would have been a stupid amount of money, just like $100 or $50. It's not okay. So, when you are in this situation and you think that your lawyer is holding out money on you or something like that, you should really start investigating that. There's a lot of lawyers who, don't do good bookkeeping. Maybe they're not doing it on purpose, but they don't do good bookkeeping. And so there may be, bounce checks and things like that happen. And that is the thing that everybody wants to stay away from. I'm going to tell you though, if Erika's books don't look right, Erika's in a problem, and she's probably not going to be able to say, oh, I didn't know. Not when there's millions upon millions just randomly coming into your account for no reason.
Right. Yep, I totally agree. I don't know if we're wrapping up, but before we do wrap up, I also want to mention that there was no prenup here.
No prenup.
Another one of those cases where, he had the money. She was doing whatever career choice she was doing, which was not a high-end career choice. She was a middle income individual who married somebody who already had this Aaron Brockovich money.
Yes.
No prenup. And California is a community property state.
Yes. And so this could be another reason why Tom is up there talking about, all the money gone. because oh, thank you, John. Because he needs to hide this money from her. He can't be still having that $100 million. He needs to hide this money from her. The whole other stuff is like a convenient backdrop, though, to all of this. So if Erika really didn't know about any of this, Tom's other problems is really a convenient backdrop. Now, did he send the money to his brother, who's now all of a sudden his conservator? And what's going on? Where did this money go? $100 million doesn't just disappear.
No. And by the way, that 50 million in cash, I'm sure you've had them, but I've had divorce cases, not that extent, but there's been, hundreds of thousands in cash where I'm like, do not say a word about the cash. Take a picture, make sure you have photographic evidence of it, because as soon as that cash is out of the house, gone, what are you going to do? One, you can't prove it was there. Two, if you tell the judge there's $100,000 of cash sitting in there, you have a big tax problem. You have a huge tax problem. So
huge, because in New Jersey, judges report.
Yep.
Mandatorily report. New York, but New Jersey, yeah.
Oh,
You're about to have some problems.
Yep, absolutely. And when they report, it's both of you that you're being reported on. So. Yep.
They're not going to sit there trying to figure out who the fourth person. They don't have time. It's Rebecca and John. That's all we know. Rebecca and John.
Oh, and by the way, you filed the joint tax return?
Listen, when you are looking at first of all, look at your daggone tax returns, people. Look at your tax returns. Stop being like, oh, he takes care of that. Oh, she takes care of that. Because it could go either way. There's tons of gentlemen who walk into my practice and don't know what's going on with the money. They're like, I just come home, I make that coin, I give it to her. She's good. She pays everything. So don't think that this is an all lady problem. It's not. And men, if that's you, please don't feel embarrassed about this. This is what it is. That's why you come to lawyers and we refer you to accountants and things like that. But come on, don't just be randomly signing text. Oh, he just put it in front of my face. She just put it in front of my face, so I signed it. You don't know what you're signing? And when the IRS comes, they don't care that you didn't read it. They don't care. And neither does the police.
No, there's something
for the FBI
where you can go in as a spouse and say that you didn't know, you were unaware of some certain things, but it's very, very difficult to prove. And you just choosing not to read a tax return, it doesn't mean that you qualify for innocent spouse. It absolutely doesn't.
It sure doesn't. It sure doesn't. People think that that's like, oh, this is the panacea. This is it. I'm just going to claim innocent spouse. No, sir. No, ma'am. In order to claim innocent spouse, you have to jump through a significant amount of hoops. And one of them is to show that you didn't directly benefit from this money. And if you have, because the money paid for the 1.3 million, whatever house that you're living in, yeah, you benefited. You said that your husband worked on the docks. How do you have a $7 million house and nobody died to give you this money? Come on.
Oh, they just have a long lawn mowing business over here.
Right. Let me get in on that. Oh, no, I have a license. Sorry. So let's talk about one more thing.
Yep.
Here's the other thing I was thinking. Wouldn't it have been more beneficial for them to stay married because of the whole the spousal privilege stuff? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if she knows some stuff, I absolutely think it would have been more beneficial, because then she can't testify against him.
Right. She cannot be forced to testify.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like, see, these are the things that make me think that maybe it's a legitimate divorce.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in and watch the Netflix, because also, just because they filed it is filed, correct? The divorce is filed. Yeah. So even though it's filed, if they filed a bankruptcy, if he filed bankruptcy afterwards, that would have stayed the proceedings for the divorce from the beginning. And so they're still married, so she still can invoke the privilege. And they still can't force her to testify so long as they're still married. I mean,
right. So this might just be the longest divorce ever, because, I'm not seeing how that works once you get divorced.
Right. Agreed. Well, we saw a couple weeks ago, we did Brandon and Angelina, and they had a 5-year long divorce. And they didn't have any of these complicated issues. They were married for a hot minute.
They sure did. They sure did. So if you are having these kinds of complications, maybe not on the scale of Erika and Tom, but if you're on the scale of Erika and Tom, please call us. Okay, call us.
I have to tell you a funny story. So I was telling my associate today, I was doing this research. And I was like, I got to figure out. And I was saying their names. I was like, Erika and Tom Girardi. And I was going on, and he was like, ooh, what are they? Who's coming in? Which one are you representing? I'm like, shut up. I wish.
Ryan, listen, you better speak it into existence, because that will be a case that Stephanie and I handle together. Listen.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I love that you knew it was Ryan and not Caitlin.
I know exactly what it is. Hey, Ryan. You're watching. Shout out to you. Oh gosh, I hope that you all enjoyed this episode of Undoing I Do with Stephanie and Ade. Don't forget, we have a podcast now. I know. You may not have heard of it. We're going to promise to big that podcast up some more, because you can not only see us now on Facebook, but you can hear us on your run, in the exercise gym, wherever you are, in the car. Take us with you. We got a lot of laughs and a whole bunch of stuff to say.
We do. See you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday. Happy 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. Happy 4th of July.